was watching Spike TV the other day, and it was talking about some girl was on there investigating Japan's panty fetish, and how they have like used panty vending machines and like used panty stores for like Japanese schoolgirls will make extra money by selling like their used panties.
Why would they sell them for extra money when they're already used vendors? So that creepy
people. So people that can get, so people can go up to the vending machines and like it'll have like a picture of the girl and they'll like get it from the vending machine. But if you really want to get like some primo bundle shit, evidently
when they really got Big Betty wearing these panties and then just like, alright, throwing them into the machine.
Yeah, really.
But they're showing you like Scarlett Johansson on the picture. Oh yeah, I want hers.
Well, no, it's like like the girls will take pictures of like themselves, like normal pictures of themselves, and be like, this is this girl's like used panties. And it's like, and then you pay different amounts of money for like the type of like use. So like, oh, she's shit. These are $15 or shit.
Are there certificates of authenticity? Like, because otherwise, who would trust that?
It could be a guy.
Yeah, no, there's no certificates. It's all seedy. Weird.
But these machines will be like.
Why are we talking about like how viable like the fact that they're girls' panties? The fact that they're buying girls' panties is like.
I just care about all you care about is
how authentic it is. Like, are you really getting these girls' panties?
It's the fact that they're getting girls' panties.
Because whatever, that's.
Because it's Japan, whatever.
Typical pedophile nonsense, but.
Whatever.
Welcome to the Fantasy Cast. I'm Nigel.
I'm Sig.
And I'm a guest for this week again. Camelot 0001 from Override's Gaming Fancy.
One of our favorite special guests. This
week,
one
of the only ones.
One of the only special guests.
We've had two guests.
We've had two guests.
Who's the other one?
Luke.
Oh, okay.
For our Star Wars podcast.
Check it out if you want to hear some Star Wars stuff.
Yeah. This week, we're doing a Nintendo podcast specifically on Nintendo's IPs and the future of our favorite franchises and the viability of new IPs and whether or not they should delve into getting new IPs or whether they can still do some things with their current ones. So the first part of the podcast that we're going to be talking about is generally just the franchises. What we like about their current franchises.
Don't worry about this.
What we like about their current franchises.
Don't worry about it. Just keep going.
Okay, current franchises and what else?
Yeah. We're going to be talking about what we like about their current franchises, what we'd like to see from some new franchises, and where we think they could go. So let's jump right into it. We've got Zelda, we've got Metroid, Mario, Star Fox, and we're just freeballing
some of the more popular stuff.
The most popular ones. Pikmin, Animal Crossing, Kirby, Ice Climbers, Wave Race, Mother. These are a few of their IPs. They have quite a few. Have had quite a few over the years, and these have been among the most enduring. Some of the most enduring, rather, as well as Punch Out, which I don't have on this list here. So let's get right into it. Zelda is, I believe, Mario. Mario and Zelda are the two most recent IPs that have been.
Donkey Kong, yeah.
Donkey Kong as well, yeah, and Donkey Kong is weirdly not on this list.
And Kirby.
Kirby, I already know.
I know, but I'm saying it's pretty recent.
Yeah,
as far as
Kirby game.
As far as things that they go to try to make money.
The top, I think those are the top four that they go to. Like every
Donkey
year.
Kong, which. I don't know if Donkey Kong gets them a lot of money, but Mario and Zelda is like...
Donkey Kong had a hiatus for quite some time. Between,
Tropical,
Well, no, even prior to Tropical Freeze and prior to Donkey Kong Country Returns, they didn't have, really anything other than the Konga. They had Donkey Konga, and they had...
That was for, the
GameCube game.
Correct. They didn't really have anything else out for Donkey Kong other than, the handheld games, which were the Mario versus Donkey Kong.
Oh, he was on that one game for the Wii, Super Smash Brothers.
Yeah. Or just... if we're talking about...
It's not even, a good point, but you said it, in that, I'm gonna win this argument, douchey.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay, but it's Mario, Zelda, and then Pokemon.
Pokemon, yeah.
It's
so where are we getting with
we desperately need money. Okay, so, how these franchises are doing right now and where they could go. And
Pokemon is easily... one of their most successful franchises ever. And you know, you have such a cult following that originally started with the Pokemon series that just grew into just, you know,
Is it a cult
it's
following?
It was. I mean, it was so it was so enduring and so monumental for our generation when we were children, and for years it kind of continued a cult following amongst our demographic, and now it's just like, yeah, this is cool again, sort of, you know, with the newest gen of X and Y. Because, you know, I mean, when you talk to a lot of people, you know, if you're going back to like Diamond or like Leaf Green or any of those, the people that are, you know, around our age, 20 somethings that are playing those at the time, you didn't have people rushing out to like, oh yeah, let me go get that new Leaf Green, you know what I mean, or like
Yeah, I don't know. What was it
Fire
about
Red.
like X and Y that really just captivated people? I guess the new system of Mega Evolutions and
It
the
wasn't-
because it was like it felt more official than like a Leaf Green. Leaf
Yeah.
Green, those games in Black and White 2, which came out, they felt more just like kind of like continuations. This one was like, all right, we got these new. It was like we have a new kind of set of Pokemon that you can all
Yeah.
get excited about, and the concept of this Pokebank, which is soon to come out in North America,
at some point
is where you can like input all the Pokemon you've gotten from
those other games.
Black and White, yeah, and the other ones before that. I think maybe 2 other ones before that.
And you can store them for the next generation that comes around. You have all your Pokemon from.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There's like an annual fee of like $4.99, but you know that means fuck whatever to people.
Yeah.
$5.
Yeah, so
You know, it would be really crazy is if they don't have peripherals really too much for these systems anymore like they used to. But they had some sort of peripheral that could like hook up to the top of the system. You just plug in your old Game Boy and just transfer the data from the.
You mean the link cable?
Yeah, link cable or something, you know, and just transfer the data
Some
from
sort
your
of
Game Boy and
peripheral.
just be like, oh my gosh,
some
yes.
sort of device to
Some
possibly.
sort of like cable to link. Your
Well, I don't
games.
think link cables is a you know, link cables isn't still a thing.
It was. It
No,
isn't.
no,
but I'm
no, I
saying
mean, yeah,
that was what it was.
That
It's like
that's what I'm saying. They don't have
technology's
those
gotten
peripherals anymore.
Yeah, it's gotten so far that like
Well, because
not
it's all
only does it.
internet. It's now it's all
Yeah,
on the
right.
cloud.
The wireless, but yeah, it's that would be kind of cool. That's probably not something that they would do because that would only cater to specifically people our age. So we've got I think the most recent Zelda entry, which I just beat, Link Between Worlds, probably
It was amazing. It's
Yeah.
one of the best, if not the best.
I
Zelda.
think it's definitely in my top 3 or 4. Because for the longest time in my childhood, Ocarina of Time, you know, you know, if you retroactively like critique it as a game experience, you're gonna say something like, oh, like Majora's Mask had a better, more enthralling story, or Wind Waker was an overall better game. But if you're looking at for what it did for that period of time, I mean, stepping out into the overworld in Ocarina of Time for the first time, and even still to this day, to me, like, and just like, being a kid when I was, you know, and I was playing, I was like, oh my god, like, I thought it was awesome, like, exploring around this small little space in the Kakiri Forest. Now I can just go wherever I want, this whole world, you know what I mean? And that was a big deal. And the semi-non-linearity. I mean, obviously you had, you know, you go here, you go here, you go here, but, you know, it mixes it up a little bit, of course. You know, you could, like, once you become an adult, of course, you could technically do any of the, you know, dungeons that you want in whichever order, unless you needed something from a previous dungeon, you know, but most of them weren't designed like that. The thing is that A Link Between Worlds really started bringing that back. It brought that free roam of, really not even from Ocarina of Time, but from like earlier games like Zelda 1, and
I'm thinking the most of Link's Awakening.
Sure, yeah.
Which, and they had the new one, I think it was like
Link's Awakening DX?
DX, yeah.
Yeah.
Which is like one of my favorite ones, because it like, one thing about Ocarina of Time was that you could like explore a lot, but I still felt like it was just a lot of empty space. And like ultimately, at one point you had to get some kind of item to get somewhere.
Yeah.
And in Link's Awakening, I didn't feel discouraged to just like kind of wander about and just get involved with all these like different things. It was just, it felt faster.
Yeah.
And that's something that Link Between Worlds does. Like, it's a really fast game. It's kind
Yeah,
of
it's
short,
like,
but it's like really sweet, and
yeah.
like you can just kind of get lost in the experience. But it's still going to be engaging, like, either way.
I definitely felt that. It was like, okay, the game starts and you just go do shit. Like it's like, you know, take this sword and go do this thing, and then like there's no tutorial, there's no like, you know, all right, well, you know, and it's hard because the Zelda franchise, you know, does have a big core fan base, and a lot of people are really timid a lot of the time to jump in, and so Nintendo always feels like, okay, you know, we need to, you know, kind of do a little bit of hand holding to kind of usher in new fans that may or may not.
But they can do it if they want to, with just convincing people to just go ahead and do it, because that's what they did with the Link Between Worlds.
They can just,
I think
yeah,
that
and Link
it's
Between
like
Worlds
become
just
such
did it
a
better, you know?
I think ever since we have trophies and achievements, people are like so anal about like I need to do this in this right order so I can get all these things and like complete this thing, you know, 100% to the end. And
Yeah.
if there were more games, I would just like, hey, just fucking just get started somewhere and just like go and just do whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
And you have this main story, which is always going to be there.
Yeah.
But just tackle it kind of in however way you want.
It's a good reminder. This game was a great reminder for me that linearity doesn't need to be. Zelda games that are linear are not bad, you know. But one of my main gripes with Skyward Sword, I love Skyward Sword as an experience and as a game, but my main gripe, yeah, was that it was extremely linear, and the exploration was mostly non-existent. Like you explored around that little area that you did, but you did it within the frame of the story. It's like, okay, there's this huge area, but you're not going to see that area until later when it's convenient for the actual narrative. And yeah, you can build narrative better when you know like, but this is where this person's going, you know.
But I think on the flip side, I think what Skyward Sword did really right was it switched the kind of items you needed to use for each dungeon. It gave me what I wanted, which was just dungeons. I think with 3D Zeldas, except for Wind Waker, I wasn't really compelled by any of the 3D worlds that Zelda's given. Like, okay. I loved Wind Waker because each kind of like quadrant or whatever of a map, you know, had some kind of different island.
Yeah.
So that was nice to explore, but it's like Skyward Sword knew that, you know, listen, we're not really into you going and looking for places, but we're going to give you these, like, extremely great dungeons with, like, awesome bosses and stuff. So I was just like, it kind of moved faster for me, and the kind of stuff you need to do, they gave you. It wasn't in that, you know, open world kind of way, but...
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, like, there are a lot of things about the Zelda series that people love for different reasons. Like, for me, yeah, the dungeons are awesome. Bosses, you know, the bosses in... Skyward Sword were among the best in the series, in my opinion. At least some of the best that I had seen in years. I mean, what was it, Tentaclus or whatever that dude from the pirate ship?
Mm-hmm.
Looking at the massiveness and just think like, you know, the dynamics of that. You know, I mean, they had some amazing bosses in that game, and you know, beautiful worlds to look around and explore. But I've always loved the idea of exploration, and you know, and that's also why I'm a huge Metroid fan, which we'll get to in a little bit. But the difference between exploration in Metroid and the difference between exploration in Zelda is that in Zelda, your exploration is more for extra shit, unlockables or side quests that can get you other items that you may not necessarily need for the game, and that are just fun to like, okay, like, yeah, I'm going to do this side quest and get the big Goron sword, or yeah, I'm going to do this whole side dungeon that may not have anything to do with anything else, but hey, I get the ice arrows, and that's pretty cool, you know.
Metroid's upgrades are like much more practical. Like, I need missiles because I fucking need missiles.
Yeah,
like,
Metroid's very
missiles,
like
that's an issue.
Yeah.
Zelda's like, I mean, of course there are items that you need. Right. You need bombs, but and there are expansions, but other things, it's like, oh, you can get a stronger sword, or you can get this. If there's anything in Metroid that you can get, you will need it most likely.
Yeah. Well, the way Metroid usually works is
before we go on, I just want to say, like, with the direction that Zelda's going in, I think that it's a really good direction. I think Nintendo took a lot of chances with this one, and I think that even the changes they made with Skyward Sword were in the right direction as far as like switching the items that you had and giving you some new ones, like the little beetle that flies. I thought that was
was one of my favorite.
I didn't expect to even like that one, but it really worked out. So they're like making new things for you to do. They're changing kind of how the existing weapons work, which I think is a really good sign. I think Zelda's going in a really good direction. I don't know what this Hyrule Warriors thing is really going to turn into, but I'm still just a little excited for that too.
Some side shit that you can pick up if you know, like the people that I think that is really going for, people like you and me, they're like, oh, okay, like, I don't actually like the Dynasty Warriors games, but I'm a big enough Zelda fan that I'll either support it or just
Like, I'm going to get it.
yeah.
Like, that's basically what, like, that. I don't want to be that simple, but
yeah. If
they could put Link and like
Yeah.
NBA Street. I'm gonna
Oh,
go
I would
buy it
totally
because
play
I'm an
Link.
idiot.
I bought the NBA Street Volume 3. Like, I had Volume 2, and I was like, this is probably going to be the same game, but Beastie Boys and Mario. So I bought it on the GameCube so that I could play as Mario and Peach.
Or you could put freaking Donkey Kong in like the next Madden, and I would like highly consider getting it.
That's actually a good idea. Do that, Nintendo. Put in Nintendo characters.
And then whenever he makes a touchdown, you have like the NBA Street signature thing, but with DK on it.
Yeah. All right, so we will skip over Donkey Kong just for now and go on to.
We were talking about Metroid, so we can.
We'll go on to Metroid. Metroid is, I think, it's one of my favorite series of all time. I love Super Metroid and I love the 2D games, but the Prime series is easily, I think, one of the best first-person like action adventure games of the past generation.
So the next Metroid game, you would want to be a 3D one.
Not necessarily. I would like the next Metroid game to really just be all that I wanted Other M to be, and wasn't. Other M was extremely disappointing to me.
Yeah, I want them to make another Origin.
Yeah,
for Samus. I just want them to like get rid of Other M.
Like Sykes on that because
yeah.
I remember right after Other M came out, and what's that guy? Is it Masahiro Sakurai? No, that's the guy that does Kirby and Smash Brothers.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways,
I think it doesn't really matter. I can't remember the guy's name at the moment, and I'll have to check it later. But the Metroid co-creator, the other co-creator is Gunpei Yokoi, who is now dead. But he was talking about how I'm sorry, God rest his soul, R.I.P. But he was talking about how the Other M series has eclipsed Prime in terms of continuity, and that's
a problem that the Metroid series has.
That really bothers me because, and we don't have to get into all the reasons why everybody dislike Other M, other than to say that I thought the gameplay was okay. I actually had a good time playing the game. There were some gripes that I had, but again, most of those gripes just had to do with the logic. It's like, why would Samus at all care? The beginning of every Metroid game, you always have all your gear, and then you somehow lose it, and then you gotta get them back throughout the game.
Right, and that's kind of a problem that. Well, yeah.
Just the idea that she had all that stuff the whole game and never lost anything, and then she's just like.
And the reason that she didn't use it was because a man told her not to.
Yeah, that she didn't work for because
she's a man.
No, exactly. And Morgan Webb from X-Play.
Yeah.
She was like, when I listened to her review of it, she was like, "You're like burning at one point, going through this like
she has PTSD.
This environment, and and this guy won't let you activate a part of your suit that otherwise would protect you from this intense heat. So you just kind of have to like run through this area burning alive until he says, "All right, you can use it now." And she's like, "Okay," and can like turn it on. I mean, that's a really dumb, kind of obtuse way of divvying out like upgrades in that game.
That's basically like the whole it's like basically the whole game was like a tutorial. Like, let me show you how to use everything that you have.
I mean,
that's something that I think Metroid does really well. But in the case of like that game,
like when you do a tutorial, you have like a gun, and then it tells you, okay, this is how you aim, this is how you shoot. But you still have that same gun versus like upgrading and be like, oh, now you have this gun, you can do this.
Well, yeah, and it also
like, you already have all these things.
Yeah.
Let me show you how to use them. Introducing.
It also sort of changed up the way that like
dumb.
her suit upgrades work in general because, previously she would find an upgrade and it would transform her suit and it would look different. Her suit maintained the same thing. In fact, later they changed, like the gravity suit has always been like badass. Like that's always like the suit you get like towards the end of the game. It's like
it's like the purple one where you like you start being able to shoot like freaking god lasers that go through walls and shit.
And it's like I can swim and I can like walk in lava. It's not a big deal. Like, you know what I mean? And like in that game, it's like, oh, it's the gravity feature. It turns her visor purple. Like, get out of here. They said because when Tecmo...
But that's like your thing right now is like her suit didn't change. Like her suit never changed.
It is, but and again, it's small gripes.
You don't get to feel like you're really getting anywhere because she basically has everything she needs when you start the game.
Yeah, that's one series where it's like people always make the argument of, okay, so should Nintendo characters stop, talk? Should they not?
No. Well,
I think some. I mean, you can make some arguments. Like Zelda always has that's the story is a big part of Zelda. And the story is a big part of Metroid, but not nearly as much as it in Metroid. I love the idea that story's there if you want it. You know,
they make great games without talking. Like Zelda was always a game that was like focused on like music.
Yeah.
Metroid is always a series that focuses on like weird, surreal kind of like ambient noises. So I think like the no talking in Prime was one of the best things. Just like you just had this silent like hero like in this like really like intimidating weird like but it's like ambience is all they should go off of.
And you always feel in the Metroid series like I'm a stranger to this alien planet. I'm exploring this planet. This is new. This is interesting. And what the Prime series did really well, and I think, in terms of story wise, you had maybe 6 or 7 cutscenes, if that, throughout a Prime game. And the whole game, it was like, okay, like I could go and find all this lore if I want to learn the story, or I could just go and find and do the next objective, or go explore and do something else. You know what I mean? Like there was more story that I got out of the Prime games.
With little exposition.
Yeah.
That other M had to kind of like cram down your throat, and there would be like 2 to 3 minute to 5 minute cutscenes.
It almost made me feel stupid.
It treats you like you're an idiot. Like, I was actually, the first time I played Prime, I was like really into, alright, it's gonna have some amazing cutscenes or whatever, because the graphics look really good. Right. And it didn't. It showed me a boss. I was like, holy shit. Yeah. And it just like said, alright, now fight this thing. Yeah. Yeah. And I was just like, at first I was like, I'm gonna get put off by this, but after a while I was like, this is awesome. Like, it's just a different way of storytelling that
and
they went away from in Other M.
Yeah.
But that they should go back to.
I think they were like because what I think they were realizing is that Metroid is one of their more mature it is their most mature series in terms of just kind of darker and more ambient, and not something that kids will readily play. It's always been more...
Because all the monsters in it look just, like, really ugly.
Yeah,
like,
and they're like challenging games.
Mm-hmm. Super Metroid, I don't know how many times I died in it, but, like, I died quite a few times.
I died, a lot. Like, at least the first 2 times I played it, I died a lot. And I die a lot, in the Metroid games in general, like, they're very strategy-based, and, like, resource management. It's like, okay, I've got, like, 18 missiles. I could just rail on dudes, but I'm not going to do that because I'm going to come to a point where I'm going to need them, and so future of Metroid. Currently, there's nothing
even hinted
on the margin. With Zelda, they said they were going to last E3. They wanted to debut a trailer for the new Zelda Wii U game that they were developing, but they didn't want to take the focus away from some other things they were doing. So this year, I think they're going to debut it around, they're not probably going to debut it at E3 because
they're going to do it at Nintendo Direct.
Yeah.
That like kind of just goes with E3.
Yeah.
You know what I think the problem is with Nintendo being so pigeonholed with like what they really work with as far as IP? They have like these moments of just like nothingness, because they had a game that just came out, and then they have another game that's coming out so and so year, but nothing in between.
Yeah, and I want to get that. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, it's just like I think we talked about this before with we had in one of the other podcasts we talked about this, where if they had more different sort of ideas that they put out there as far as games, they'd be able to fill that gap with other things. Maybe something hits, but that's just something they tried too hard to go out of their ballpark.
Yeah, and I want to get back onto that point, like I said, in the second.
I have a reason for that too. That could be happening.
Yeah. But yeah, with Metroid, they haven't really announced anything. There was a game that was rumored to be in development for quite a few years called Metroid Dread, and there's nothing that anybody knows nobody knows anything about it other than the fact that it had been listed as being in development for a time. At this point, it's probably not still in development. So what I'd like to see out of a new Metroid game, and I actually blogged about this recently. I would love to see a Metroid game that is, sure, maybe a new origin story, but done better, and not, stop talking. Like, I don't need to hear
Everyone
Samus.
Stop talking.
Everybody shut the fuck up. I don't need that in the game.
Even the text that appeared in Prime 2 was kind of off-putting.
Was it?
When she went to, like, go to the Federation.
They
She
gotta
like looked at the
oh.
Federation's like video journals and stuff,
Oh,
and you
yeah.
saw. I was just like, this is. I mean, this is okay, but
Yeah.
can we just not have this? Like,
Well, Prime 3 definitely amped it up, because they did have
yeah, they had like full voice acting
voice
on that
acting.
one. Like,
I remember the first time I was like, when I was playing it, the general was like, "Damn," and I was like, "Oh, Nintendo, all right, I feel you, I see you."
you're like
And
age
they
14 now.
took that out of Trilogy too.
But being like a kind of person that's not so much into the Nintendo thing, obviously, I
Just
feel
look
like
at the Dragon Ball Z one and then look back at this. To see how
right,
old age.
just like cut between the two, so you have like them talking and me talking. I feel like if any, and I'm not saying you should, but if any like IP were to have talking in it, I think Metroid would be the one that would fit
Sure.
best.
I would love
And I
to
think that's
see.
what they were thinking.
I want Samus's voice to be the voice actor from that does Lightning.
I would love it to be Scarlett Johansson, but
It could be Tara Strong.
I would
Wait.
love, what I would love to see from a new Metroid game.
Wait,
I loved what
wait,
they
I'm
did with
forgetting
the
which is-
Tomb Raiders, the Tomb Raider 2013.
Look her up.
That was
She's pretty.
amazing, and I think that they could benefit from doing something like that. Not necessarily in terms of like, obviously it's a very different game, but in terms of
That's how it should have been though.
the way that they
Because the
found,
way that Tomb, I didn't
like
play
that
it,
over
but like
that third person sort of over the shoulder, and so you do a lot of exploration in that game. They have sort of like the side quests where you do the tombs that like are off to the side that you don't necessarily have to do, and you find new weapons throughout the game. You feel like you're growing with this character.
You know who the new
And they did did that with very little.
the antagonist that should be in the next Metroid game should be voiced by none other than Troy Baker.
Troy Baker, yeah.
Little Troy Baker
I'm
in real
getting a
life.
headache just thinking about like how many things he's been in. But
The thing about Metroid antagonists is that Metroid antagonists are not nearly as iconic. I mean, Ridley's cool, but Ridley doesn't talk. You know what I mean? And he doesn't need to talk. None of the only one that really ever talked was like,
Dark Samus?
No, Dark Samus never spoke.
Damn, that's
Yeah.
a whole bitch.
She was a
That's
Metroid,
cool.
so I don't think she really spoke English. I mean, they hinted through some of the lore that because she controlled the space pirates by the third game, so they hinted that like somehow she communicated with them either through their minds or whatever it was. But I don't know. And then I guess if you're saying like if we're technically speaking, when she took over like Rundus's and Gandrada's bodies, I guess but that's all conjecture. Who knows? But I like that about Metroid because it's like, yeah, these guys are bad. We don't really know anything about their goals or why they're doing this. For all we know, the space pirates are just doing them. You know what I mean? Like in the Galactic, and they always play with the idea, especially in the handheld games and the 2D games. The Galactic Federation isn't really necessarily great guys either. I mean, if you play
Right.
all the way through Other M, you find out that and of course Metroid Fusion, you find out that the Galactic Federation has perpetuated
you gotta
Metroid's existence.
crack some eggs or whatever in that way to make an omelet.
They
for
keep,
those people.
they keep trying to take these dangerous, creatures and just using them for their own benefit. And that's the same thing the space pirates are doing, but it's just that black and white, like, oh, but we're the good guys though, so it's cool that we do it, not that you do it. And it's like, wait a second.
So would you want to see? All right, so I want to see a Metroid game more for the 3DS
Okay.
than for because I just like the handheld ones.
So you're looking
more.
for a 2D one.
I'm looking for a 2D one, but I like Other M for the experimenting that they did with 2D and 3D because they had it so that while you held the Wii remote like this, it was 2D, but as soon as you pointed, it went to like a 3D kind of thing where you could like point and shoot. It didn't really work out for me. I thought it was really awkward, but I think with the 3DS, you could kind of like find some better ways to incorporate it.
Honestly, it's a tall order, but I'd like to see both. Metroid Prime.
Because I could see them using the Wii gamepad in some kind of way too.
Oh,
Yeah.
you know what? You could be playing the game in 3D, and then on the gamepad you see like a 2D mapping. That'd be pretty sweet.
Sure. Oh, like the map of the.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
But
that
like,
makes
like as you would see it in the game, like if it was a 2D game, you would see the mapping there.
Okay, interesting. I would love to see them release dual game, like Metroid Prime and Metroid Fusion released pretty much in a window of the same period of time. And I think actually those two games could interface. You could like get the fusion suit from Metroid Fusion and Metroid Prime, and just small little things like that. But
I want to see
it
a
can work.
Metroid in the style of Call of Duty.
I don't ever want to see that. In my Christian life, I do not ever want to see that.
So let's move on to. We touched on Pokemon, but I don't know that Pokemon I want to get to maybe Star Fox.
Pokemon kind of speaks for itself, though.
Pokemon
Yeah.
speaks for itself.
Is its own beast.
Pokemon is never at lack for entries.
But they need to make a.
It's never dormant.
Pokemon
But they need to make
Z.
they need to make Pokemon Stadium,
Oh yeah, well, a Pokemon Stadium esque.
especially since now that you have the Pokebank.
They had Pokemon
Pokemon Coliseum.
Coliseum, and then
Didn't
they
they?
had,
Yeah.
they
That
had
was
another
awful.
one that was like
It was good, but I mean, it was good in the way that like cold pizza is so good.
there was like that one. It was like Pokemon something DX, and then there was like a Rumble U.
I can't think of a
Which I
lot of
don't know
ways that
anything
they would
about.
really broaden the Pokemon series any more than they already have.
They
Because
need
every
to
time,
make a RPG, like Final Fantasy style RPG, where you like, you're running around in the wild, you find Pokemon, but like, like fully fleshed out 3D, graphics, like for a system, like a home console versus a.
Well, they just put Ni no Kuni, because Ni no Kuni, I think to me was essentially Pokemon, just in that way.
Yeah, basically, and that would be like I feel like that would be like the epitome of like mixing the game with the show, that kind of idea that people always think about when they're playing Pokemon. That would be I think that would be like the next step.
I just don't think that Nintendo really has looked at Pokemon as a successful console franchise, other than Snap and Stadium. Like, they had that Hey You Pikachu, and what was the one, Pikachu TV or something like that, where he just
That
sits
was
there
just
and
awful though. Like they
watches
weren't even
TV?
trying to be like relatively.
You know what's funny? If you said like to Hey You Pikachu, if you said Sony, you would start like getting angry and start like Pika, just like lightning and shit.
Yeah.
Let's move away. From
I'd like
Pokemon.
to talk about Star Fox, just because Star Fox has not been around for some time, and
Can we just say this though? Like, I think, and this goes back to what you mentioned with them just releasing games in this way where you just have a big space of nothing. But I feel like they could bring all those games back with like Star Fox and, like people from my channel on the Nintendo podcast mentioned F-Zero a lot. Like they could bring all those back, but I felt like they just confused the market so much with hardcore gamers versus casual people that they like just don't know what to do, and that the Wii U is a promise to people like us who care about Star Fox, but as far as to all the casual people who kind of moved on to the Wii U, it's like, what is this?
Yeah.
And they kind of want to please both, but don't really commit to either one.
Star Fox is a lot of fun, and that's it's one of those series. It's old school, but it's very much like, I don't know. I think it holds a tender place in my heart. As a game that it's like, like cool, sweet. I can go around on this R-wing, and it's like it's their Star Wars, space battles.
I feel like they're just really afraid to touch it. But I'm like, please, like, go back to Star Fox, and if you fuck it up, fine. But just like go back to
time to do it too.
I don't think
now you have so much more processing power versus what you did back in like the N64 and GameCube.
Exactly. Like I look at even just the potential for what it could look like. It's just awesome.
Yeah. And looking back on it, like a lot of people like say like, oh, don't do things like Star Fox. What was that? Adventures, the one for GameCube.
No, don't do that. They should never do that again.
Actually,
it was not bad, but they should not go back
game.
to it.
But I think that
it was perfectly average.
They tried to turn that into Zelda, and I'm like, don't mix your franchises like that. Like, keep true to what the franchise is and experiment with it. But don't take a series too, so far from its laurels that it's like this has nothing to do. Because Star Fox isn't that type of series. The only type of series that really works with, the Mario and Donkey Kong based series, and that's why they're able to do Mario and everybody, and everything else, So I would love to see a new Star Fox. Wii U, I think, would be perfect for a new Star Fox entry, or the 3DS. A handheld Star Fox would be just as welcome to me.
It would be more well received just because we would have more of an install base already.
Yeah, well, I mean, they had Star Fox the 3DS, Star Fox 64 for the 3DS, and
which was great, even though it was the same. But
sold the shit out of some consoles when they weren't, or some handheld systems when they weren't.
When they just had ports and nothing else.
They just had the remakes. So moving along to, let's do Kirby.
I love Kirby. Kirby's one of my favorite franchises ever.
Same.
Actually.
Kirby Superstar is in my top 10 favorite games of all time. But that's also tied with Kirby's Dream Land 3. I also liked Kirby, remember the one, Crystal Shards?
I love that game, even though it's really easy to not like.
It's really easy to beat.
It is easy. Like I actually played it like last week, and it's just I don't even know what I was bitching. If I bitched at all about getting stuff in that game, like I just don't. It just doesn't make sense now because I was just doing shit while doing other things. Like it was
The
that
thing is,
simple,
like,
but
the Kirby games are not hard games.
they're not
but,
designed to be hard. Really, they're designed for you to have fun.
And the shit that you can later get, though, you know what I mean? Like some of that shit. Like if you're like, oh, okay, I'm gonna get all these like little stars. I'm gonna get all the, like.
And it's like, and someone from his name's Jim Sterling.
Mhm.
He's from The Escapists, and he's also from like Destructoid.com or something. But he was like, the Kirby games give you a level of challenge that you can either accept or like you don't need to. It's not going to force you through certain difficulty things.
Right.
But if you ever play like Kirby's Epic Yarn, it's like it's about making it through the level if you're really trying to challenge yourself without getting hit at all. It's that kind of thing. It's like that you can take it to that, to
that extreme,
that old school I'm not going to get hit once kind of mentality in order to kind of like ace the game, or you can just kind of get through it because in Kirby's Epic Yarn you literally can't die.
Epic Yarn was amazing.
Yeah.
I loved that game, and I thought it was, and that's one of the things about the Kirby games is that that series is one of the few other Nintendo franchises where they do take a lot of risks, and they'll say like, like, oh, let's do Canvas Curse, or oh, let's do was Canvas Curse the one where it was a ball, or was that the other one?
Yeah, that was Canvas Curse.
What was the one? Because they had another.
There was one for the Game Boy Advance where you just had to like, it was like that marble maze thing where you had to like,
it's like Monkey Ball.
It was tilt and tumble.
Yeah, I do remember that one. Didn't care for that one too much, but
yeah, it wasn't the best, but it was still something that they like, took a chance on as far as like they always try to do something different.
And
sometimes
I love that. The new one looks to be kind of shaking things up a little bit too. Triple Threat or whatever that is.
Triple Deluxe.
Triple Deluxe or whatever they want to call it.
I think it's an awesome name.
Like back and forth in planes.
Yeah, well, they were like, how can we say 3D in a fun way? Triple Deluxe.
Triple Deluxe, bitch.
Triple Deluxe, bitch. So here's a franchise.
But the most recent Kirby game was Return to Dreamland, right? For the Wii. Was that the most?
Dreamland for the Wii. That, yes. That's the most recent Kirby game out of the, like, consoles series. Because they actually... Console Kirby games aren't a thing, really.
Yeah, because there was Epic Yarn, and then there's Return to Dreamland for the Wii. But, and before that, there was the Crystal Shark one for the
N64. And then, of course, all the classics. I mean, of course, the first adventure game came out for Game Boy. I mean, and he's at his heart, he's a handheld.
Mm-hmm.
He's best on handheld.
But since Masahiro is like becoming bigger and bigger with the Smash Brothers series, I mean that's his creation. So I want him to kind of like put Kirby more, and Kirby's kind of gotten a little bit more spotlight because of that anniversary collection that was released. Like I'm always wondering, like they had the year of Luigi last year, like when are we gonna get like the year of like the year of Kirby?
Yeah, well, and of course they had the year of Luigi, which followed the whole like they did Zelda 25.
So what would you like to see like in a future Kirby game?
Just more Kirby games, really.
I wondered they've yet to do something that was like 3D though, and I want them to do something like
new
that.
3D Kirby.
But Kirby, even if he has been in 3D, he's always been in 2D. We've never seen Kirby like
in a 3D
third
space.
person,
kind of like a Super Mario 64 kind of Kirby thing.
Yeah,
that'd be kind of cool.
That would be interesting. Like because I've never seen it, so it's something new that they could do. They can keep doing the Dreamland games forever for me, but just for something that's gonna like just be a huge shift from what they've been doing, yeah.
Yeah,
that's kind of what I want. But I like the 3DS game though. I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah, they should take Kirby like in different territories, and maybe I really would love for them to just start fleshing out characters a little bit more, but not in an exposition sort of way. Just like maybe make a game.
The evil people, they kind of flesh out more. Oh, and by flesh out more, I mean like there's like a tiny hint of a backstory with those people, but like the villains in Kirby have always been sort of interesting.
Yeah, like DDD's not quite a villain; he's just stupid. Like
no, DDD's not. He's not a villain compared with
he's just stupid. Like and of course in Kirby in Crystal Shards, he works with you, he's your buddy, but and I think in another one as well. But he's always just like, like the reason he steals the in Kirby's Adventure, the reason he steals the Star Rod is because he's like, oh, I'm trying to help my people. I'm just stupid because like, trying to keep this from nightmare. And it's like, there's certain things that I think should be like touched upon. Like anytime you fought Meta Knight,
Or maybe give Meta Knight his own game.
yeah, give Meta Knight a game. Anytime you fought Meta Knight, Kirby'd fight Meta Knight, and break the mask, and then you see that he looks just like Kirby, and they're like, oh, okay, isn't that fun? We're not going to tell you why, like, you know what I mean?
Right,
Like,
none of that. Well, unless you watch that whatever Superstar. There was that right back
show?
at you shit, which
oh,
I
Kirby
never
right
was
back
like.
at you. I actually
That's
did
something
watch Saturday morning.
Okay, I couldn't
It was
do it.
bad.
I'm
I
like, I
just
love
watched
Kirby,
it 'cause
but
I
I
like
can't
Kirby.
do this. This looks like some white people got at after the Kirby series and like did whatever they wanted to with it.
I don't
I
know.
can't get
I don't
with
know that it really even made a lot of sense, and that they really even delved into metal. Like they still played with the idea that like, I think they rationalized that Kirby and Meta Knight were both like Star Warriors. I don't know.
It's like, yeah, we can move away from.
Yeah, and I don't really necessarily need, but maybe maybe do a game where it's like Kirby's home planet. Popstar. They explain that Popstar isn't like really his home planet. He just kind of like chills there. You know what I mean? And Dreamland, of course. Bring back some of his old friends like Goo and like Rick, Rick the hamster, and like
That thing was
the
scary.
cat.
That thing kind of creeped me out.
No, the creepy thing was that girl, that pink Goo girl from like Kirby's Dream Land 3 that was like had those weird arms that like what I mean. She was like an octopus, but like she just mostly looked like Goo. So let's see, we've got F-Zero, which has not
I
had.
see you have F-Zero GX right there. I played that game for like half an hour and gave up on it. It was like punishingly difficult, and I understand that like that's a part of its appeal. But if they wanted to make any kind of game easier, they should have made, or if they wanted to make any kind of game accessible, like that should have been that game. I know that they're probably like diehard F-Zero fans who are like, "Fuck you, that game's awesome the way it is." But I always wanted to get into F-Zero, but I felt like it was just, I mean, come on, like
Yeah,
if
well,
you ever played that game, like
I think that
we should actually try to like
play a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that they can do that. They can appease both crowds by making it more accessible in terms of just difficulty settings. Like, okay, this is for beginners, this is for experts, this is for, and they sort of had that, but it wasn't very like the normal mode on GX is still hard as shit. Like they really should just have like, okay, this is beginners. Like,
not only is it hard, but it's like so threatening.
Yeah.
You're on these like, there are no guardrails like half the time.
Yeah.
And you're going like at fucking like
900
light speed
Yeah.
miles per hour.
Like, and the thing is,
And-
your eyes. Like, when I play those games, it's like when I was younger, like I was like, fuck, like, this is hard to see, and now I'm getting older, and I'm like, I can't see these environments. I'm going far too fast. Like, you know, what I mean? Like, you know,
I'm
you're
not
going
reckless enough with
900
my health to like even put the energy to see where things are in this game.
Yeah. It's definitely it's a challenge. Those games are a racing challenge. Like the kart, I think they've started to try to put more challenge like that into the kart series, but I don't think the kart series is appropriate for that. I think that what they really need to, if they want to continue the F-Zero series, they need to focus on having game modes that engender people that maybe necessarily haven't played those series or are afraid to just because it's so hard, and modes that are like and make there be reason for me to want to play a harder mode. Like, okay, so if I do expert mode or like insane mode or something like that, like I'm gonna get all these cool unlockables, or I'll get certain whatever, like achievement based or leaderboards. Now that they have the Miiverse, like that, those are things that appeal to people of that crowd. Make their maybe online events, or something like that. Like what didn't work with SSX, 2012's SSX, might work with something like this. You know what I mean? Where they just had like time trials and like or special events like that, where it's like, okay, like come in first in this amount of time, and that could work with this.
One thing that just turned me off too was that the other people, I mean, of course there's Captain Falcon, who I'm like, yeah, Captain Falcon, and then like there's some weird guy who's like Samurai Goro, who's like some pudgy, like he just looks, they all look so random. Yeah. I'm just like, who are you people? Like,
I think
what's going on? And it's just like, if I'm not Captain Falcon, like, who am I? Like, that's what I was thinking of playing. That's like,
they need to be more
memorable looking people.
Yeah,
like if they're gonna
more
look
unique.
more unique, if they're gonna be kind of weird looking, I want them to have an interesting story.
Yeah,
that's something that, like, the WarioWare series.
Mm-hmm.
They have a bunch of like random ass looking cartoon people, but they have like weird personalities, so I like remember them.
I would love to see a new WarioWare game. Just speaking of which,
Mm-hmm. So I want them to do that.
Yeah,
And I want the F-Zero series to like be successful, but I feel like that's going to be one of the more harder sells as far as like bringing a game back.
Well, F-Zero, I think a lot of those characters, particularly Captain Falcon and Samurai Goro, those guys are bounty hunters, but because it's not a series like Metroid, that's just a throwaway fact.
It is a throwaway fact. I'm like, oh, you're a bounty. Like, what about what you do says bounty hunter to me? Like,
they're
you
bounty
a
hunters
race car.
that race in their free time.
It's
Or
just like
race in order to pay. I don't really know. They don't have stories, but I mean they do, but they don't.
the bounty hunter it seems like a thing to use, to like hit on people at parties.
Yeah,
it's not like oh, this is what I really do. It's like
I'm a bounty hunter. Also, I race and I'm a bounty hunter. That's a great franchise. I think they need to bring it back, and they need to not tease people, like especially like if you want to sell games to kids like Super Smash Brothers, like and then have all these characters like. You're gonna have 8, 9-year-olds playing Super Smash Brothers, for Wii, saying who the fuck? And it was like, oh wait, no, it's cool because the last game, right? You remember Captain Falcon from F-Zero GX? And it's like, no, this is an 8-year-old child. F-Zero GX is beyond their lifespan. We're gonna touch on Mario and Donkey Kong a little bit. I would love to see a Donkey Kong that. I love what the.
Do you want to see Donkey Kong 64 Part 2?
No. I was actually talking to Luke about that recently because we were talking about how certain nostalgia for certain games goes beyond when I played Donkey Kong 64.
It didn't even take a year or two for me to realize how dated this kind of gameplay was.
Right. Yeah.
You mean platformers?
No, just that platform, because it was very you just collect these things just for the sake of collecting them.
Yeah.
If they made it more in depth, I would play the fuck out of it.
Well, Donkey Kong has fun collectibles, but that game just didn't do it well.
Yeah, it didn't do it well.
So it's not the type of game; it's just the execution.
Yeah. And it's for people who love that game, it's oh, that's just nostalgia talking to you, because the way that you collected things in that game was just really kind of lazy.
And I'm also again probably biased in this because I'm a huge proponent of platformers. So if I could see a game being...
No, I love platformers. It's just doing a good platformer versus doing a bad platformer. And it's weird that Donkey Kong doesn't still... Donkey Kong 64 couldn't hold up because within that same span of time, you had, by the same exact company, Banjo-Kazooie. So it's weird that Donkey Kong 64, which, if you boil it down to its simplest form, has the same sort of progression and gameplay as Banjo-Kazooie, but was just far... it had a fun multiplayer, and that's actually exclusively what I played.
The levels... I never even played the multiplayer. I think the level design was just crappy.
Was bad.
Banjo-Kazooie's was amazing
and cool,
and interesting and weird, and Donkey Kong just had really boring-looking places to collect these things in.
Well, Donkey Kong,
And I like actually what Retro Studios did with Donkey Kong Country Returns and what they're doing now with Tropical Freeze, because the enemies they've made into these kind of interesting. I was afraid they would look too generic, with Country Returns with the Tiki kind of people.
Yeah,
they kind of looked a little generic to me, but they were still some kind of charm to them. Yeah, and with Tropical Freeze, there's they're called Snowmads. And they just look really cute, and they kind of still fit into the world. So I'm
Yeah, I mean that Donkey Kong Country Returns is one of my favorite Donkey Kong games. I love the original Country games. I love Country Returns. I thought Retro did a great job. I mean, it looks so beautiful. I mean, with the technology that the Wii
can afford,
it looked great, especially for a 2D game. And the new Tropical Freeze, looking at some of the pre-release
it's going to be
videos,
amazing.
I think it's going to be a great game.
They're not afraid to kick the shit out of you, which is something that we haven't. I have not played Country Returns. I think I'm at World 4 or something.
If you haven't played Country Returns with people, that's a lot of fun.
We played it.
Yeah, but but the thing is, you have to.
We tried to figure out why we were dying so much at certain points.
You know how many times I would look back and be like, oh dude, we could have blown on those fucking flowers and shit would have come out for it.
Yeah.
And that's probably where a lot of the puzzle pieces and stuff were.
How many tufts of grass we passed by.
Yeah, and here's the thing. You have to know, I started realizing, because I played that game multiplayer with a couple different people, co-op with multiple people, and
And with that game, with co-op, you need to have some people who are willing
equally
to...
as anal as you. Like it's the
Right.
same type of player. Like
How many
I'm
times did we
super.
stop and we're like, okay, we got to restart this because we didn't get
Right.
everything?
Yeah, I was that. I'm that type of player with Donkey Kong where I want to get all of the KONG. I want to get everything in the level.
And that's where like the actual challenge comes up in.
Yeah,
With, like,
yeah.
But
And
it was
that's
hard for us to deal with recording.
Yeah.
To really
Yeah.
stick around and keep looking for shit. We just had to keep
definitely,
going.
yeah. And like that's my type of gameplay. Some people are not. They're like, let's just play together and like do fun stuff, and that's cool too.
it's like, that's infuriating. Like,
Yeah.
you need to do all of this,
Yeah.
but we're not playing
So
the
it's
level
different
right.
types of play types, but I like that you're able to do that. Like like say for instance when I would play with me and like, Luke versus like I remember playing with another friend of mine who actually still has my copy, and he was like, yeah man, I'm all like, because I had played the game and gotten to like probably World 5 and got up to that point had like all of the collectibles, and he was like, yeah man, I'm on the last level, I can't beat it, and I was like, you got all the stuff in all the levels that quickly, because he played it like for a week, and he was like, oh, I didn't get any of the shit, man. I just, played the levels. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, some of the levels are hard, but at the end of the day, like, the challenge comes from getting all of that stuff. And so it's different play styles. I'd love to see them retry a 3D Donkey Kong, but they don't necessarily have to do it.
They don't have to, because I don't think there's a story that's strong enough for that to happen.
Remember that show?
The show?
It was like a CGI show back in the day.
I don't
It
remember.
was shitty. There are certain story things that they could do that would make the series less ambiguous and also help tie it in, because there's a lot of really fun theories on the internet, because the Donkey Kong series and Mario series, for all intents and purposes, take place within the same universe. It just is a matter of how those universes connect, and that's one of the things that I wanted that at some point, not in this podcast, but would want to delve into in terms of the Mario series, because the Mario series takes place in the Mushroom Kingdom, and all of its surrounding kingdoms. But Mario and Luigi as characters are not from that world. They're from, I guess, a fictitious version of our world. And if Donkey Kong exists in Mario's world, how do those worlds connect? Because obviously Donkey Kong does not live in the Mushroom Kingdom.
Well, the same way that Mario can be in the Mushroom Kingdom, I would guess.
Yeah, but I'm saying they've yet to explain that connection. Also, they say that Donkey Kong, Gramps, what is
Grumpy.
it? Cranky Kong.
Cranky
He
Grumpy.
is the original.
Just-
He's the original Donkey Kong that Jumpman fights, that Mario fights in Donkey Kong.
How do you get so skinny?
Well, he's old. He's just older.
He decided that
Frail.
he either had to lose weight because, like
you know,
Bill
when
Burr
you're that
says, no
muscular-
one... When's the last time you seen a 70-year-old person 300
Yeah.
pounds? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what he heard that, and he was like, I need to slim down and get triple
Yeah.
bypass or whatever, but I won't be able to...
Yeah.
He won't be able to do much.
So
anymore after
so
that
that's
for a
the
while.
original Kong that fought like Mario. But then what's weird? So they don't explain, like, a lot of people say that Donkey Kong is Donkey Kong Jr. from the original Donkey Kong series. And that guy is his dad. But they call it like his wife is
They call him
evidently
grandma.
Gramps. Yeah, it's weird. And then there's also like if you ever played the Mario vs. Donkey Kong on the handhelds, Pauline makes a reappearance.
Yeah.
And that whole series is about Mario opening like factories, which take place in Donkey Kong and Pauline's shared world. So something needs to connect these two series in a more tangible way than just these little like ambiguous hints. But so I'd like to maybe see them do like a Mario meets Donkey Kong, but for a console. You know what I mean? And that would be really cool to me.
Yeah, because that's just strictly been handheld.
Yeah.
And it's strictly been in that kind of Lemmings fashion where it's very, where it's more strategic than kind of action-y platformer kind of gameplay.
Yeah, I think that the relationship between Donkey Kong and Mario is interesting enough to merit making a game like that. And the Mario stories, even the most interesting Mario stories are not that complicated or interesting. Like, you don't need to pay attention to them. It's like, Mario, I made you a cake. Oh no, he's taking me away again. Like, I don't care. I actually really did enjoy the original story for Galaxy, just because it was cute and it was like kind of like a storybook tale, with Rosalina or whatever. But was it Rosalina or Rosaline?
Rosaline, I think it's Rosalina.
Yeah, but But yeah, that'd be cool to see them connect those two games in a more tangible, like, and maybe bring back Mario's old school Brooklyn. Hey, I'm from Brooklyn, or something like that. Like, but yeah. So the last series we're gonna touch on before we end this part of the podcast is Animal Crossing. And I guess the only thing we actually had to say about Wave Race is like we'd like to see a new one.
We'd like to see a new one.
We'd like to see a new Wave Race.
Actually, just put back the old one and just make an HD version of it.
Yeah,
That's
HD.
just what all they've been doing really lately is just remastering old games.
Sort of, not to any great extent that it's done anything, but.
I'm just saying like that's.
But I
like
mean
a
that definitely
selling
works
point
for
a lot of their
handhelds.
systems.
Remakes definitely work a lot for their handhelds because it introduces something that was important to our generation for a new generation, and they also tweak it and say like, oh, here's shit that updates this series for 2014.
Or you just make a new one.
Yeah,
that's something that everybody does.
Yeah,
like their HD collections throughout like everything now.
Yeah, but they bank on them. Like a lot of like.
So Kingdom Hearts.
I mean, that's
Ratchet and Clank.
Yeah, but that's just like remakes. But they're not banking on that. They're making new shit, and they're just like, oh, by the way, we're about to throw this new game out. Let's give you these remakes before we do that. That's what they've been doing.
It's all in the pursuit of making money, though.
I'm saying like Nintendo's falling back on it a little bit versus
I don't think so. I mean, they're continuing to produce new games.
I think that's what they just like they've just now been coming out with good games. Like
okay,
really
and
good
again,
games.
this is getting more into the second half.
Well, then
so
we
we'll
can
get to this.
transfer into the second half.
The last one we wanted to get in was Animal
The
Crossing.
second or like the third quarter.
Yeah, Animal Crossing.
Animal Crossing. That's a game I can't get into.
No, you don't like the Animal Crossing?
I tried I tried it for the GameCube,
I
and
don't like Farmville. I don't like Animal Crossing.
I can actually get into more of it now, just because life just. I can get more into it now just because life is so like shitty sometimes. Like it doesn't hurt to kind of go into like that kind of world.
You can swim now, apparently.
Yeah,
it's just whatever. I can understand the appeal of games, of simulation games too. So like The Sims and Animal Crossing, and I don't really know what else, but I can kind of get into it now. I don't know what. I think just my tastes have changed, maybe.
It's a very
I wanted to actually try. Yeah. And it's more of a relaxing thing. I think when I was younger, I just wanted to destroy. I just wanted like I wanted a plot.
Yeah.
In those games, and like in Animal Crossing and simulation kind of game, it's not really about getting this thing. It's just about the experience, and it's just about relaxing. Okay. So I could totally imagine playing Animal Crossing like half an hour before I go to bed or something.
Yeah, definitely, and that's kind of like how I play it. I think it's actually once they found their niche on the handhelds, I think they really found a core audience. It works really great on a handheld because it's like, I don't have time to sit here and fucking play this. But wait, I can sit here and do this on my thing, while I'm on the bus.
Yeah, I don't want to like sit down and take like not 5 minutes, that's too long, but like I don't want to take like time booting up my system and like turning the TV, changing the input and like forgetting what else is going on. Like it's just setting about this block of time to play Animal Crossing to relax. Yeah. Like I just want to open up this 3DS, play it a little bit, and then close it and do whatever. So that's where I think it should stay. Yeah,
definitely handheld. I'd like to see a new Animal Crossing at some point. But they're starting to change it up a little bit. I think that maybe
they keep doing some things that are new with each one that comes out. Definitely. I think since you have Street Pass and since the network is better, there's more. I don't know the specifics of what New Leaf is. That the 3DS one?
New Leaf, yeah. The New Leaf is actually really cool. So New Leaf, there's just a lot more customization options. Now you're the mayor, so you can customize the town itself. The only thing that I would love to see out of an Animal Crossing game that they've yet to do is, you can visit other people's towns, other people can visit your towns, but you can't visit towns together. Like, I feel like one thing they're missing is just, like, you should just, like, I want to hang out with a friend in my town sometime. Like, that'd be cool.
And there should be things that only you can do when you invite other people to your town.
Yeah, that would be awesome to see. So that, in a future game, I think they could implement that well. So, with that, I think we can end this part of the discussion. Stay tuned for part 2. Anybody want to have any closing remarks or anything we want to add?
I don't see much of a reason not to take chances at this point and put a couple franchises out and, refresh those ones that, they may think won't make that much money, because at this point, I don't think they have that much to lose as far as
Anything.
yeah. I mean, because they're already not doing well, so it's the
Yeah.
perfect time to take
Introduce
some kind
them.
of risk. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And Sig, you have any closing remarks?
You're gonna hear me talk more in the second half, second whatever
Second part.
percentage.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much for listening. Stay tuned.